What up?
Comics interview.
Oh, sorry about that, Drew. Did I just blow out one of your eardrums?
Okay. You scared the cats.
No, other Drew.
Oh no, I'm good, dude.
Okay. No, I just saw you like adjusting your headphones. I was thinking like, oh crap, did I just like just fell into my microphone?
Yeah, we'll just put a disclaimer on Brian. Rip headphone users.
Yeah, I get a little over enthusiastic sometimes.
Oh no, it's all good, brother.
It's why we love you.
I wonder when the live stream services will get the clue like Discord where you can change the volume of the people as the viewer. So like out for me. I'm gonna turn it down.
Well, I think with StreamYard, it's still kind of they're feeling their way. They keep adding features, every so often. So we'll see what it has in store. I think a lot of people are enjoying this format compared to Google Hangouts. So
it does seem more reliable. It does seem a lot easier to use.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to learn to use OBS, and OBS can be a bit more complicated. It's really user-friendly, StreamYard. Yeah.
A lot of people use the what's called Restream, which is a streaming tool that can do several platforms at once.
You're a bit muffled there, brother.
Am I?
Yeah. Yeah.
Am I better now?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. I got to talk towards the mic, apparently.
Yeah, that helps.
Yeah, I changed the position of my mic to get it out of view of the camera. You know what I mean? And it usually picks me up pretty well. But like if I'm over here talking, you can't hear me. And if I'm over here, you can hear me. So it's
come on, coddle that mic like a lead singer.
I find it works fine as long as I keep it like under me.
If our hearing weren't hurt when Brian yelled, no,
I'm still trying to figure out how to do watch parties because, like, I got friends that I on the regular watch like horror and exploitation movies with, and we call them filth nights.
Nice. And the best way would create yourself a Discord. Like you create yourself a Discord and you put yourself like a video room, like a video chat room, and within it now you can stream from your computer, so you could watch a movie on YouTube, on Netflix, and share it with your friends. And there's no lag. You just be in that room with your friends. You share your screen. They hop in, and you can watch and comment at the same time.
Yeah, you can even do it with StreamYard. It's just you just don't go live. But remember, you can only have 6 people with StreamYard.
Right. Well, I only have like 2 friends that are into like the same weird crap that I'm into.
Okay. Well, see, there you go. So you got a couple of options there, Brian.
Yeah, I do. No, thank you. I appreciate the feedback.
Mm-hmm.
So, Drew Taylor, meet our audience. A lot of them aren't here yet, but they will be on the watch up later.
They shall trickle in slowly.
They shall trickle in.
I was going to say, don't lie. Nobody watches this show.
Right? Yeah, sometimes I get that feeling, but no, there's always views.
Yeah, the views come in later. It's
yeah.
Right. And
we're building a brand, damn it.
Yeah, well, the also, it's good to have this stuff in there for reference. YouTube has been acting up a lot lately, and a lot of people just don't even know what's going on as far as their people that they follow, and
we don't get notifications. Their streams getting taken down for stupid reason just because the Vatican doesn't like your shit.
Well, it's happening all over YouTube, like you guys said. I've seen it happen on my buddy author Stephen Walton's channel. It's happening on my buddy Wes Moody's channel. It's happening to a lot of people, even the large YouTubers, Doomcock, Gary. Those guys. It's happening to them. Yeah, it's basically what YouTube did. They turned the machine up to like 11, tore the knob off, and sent everybody home. And the machines just it's running amok right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think most of us were expecting this, it being an election year and everything. We knew that they were going to really clamp down, and they want as few non-corporate YouTube channels as possible. It's interesting because I'm a major lefty, and I watch my lefty YouTube streams and channels, and immediately afterwards, it directs me to MSNBC.
Oh, of course.
Or CNN.
Yep.
Do you know what I'm saying? And I'm assuming that my friends who are to the right of me, they'll tell me they'll be watching one of their Republican or Trumpist channels, and it'll direct them afterwards, right to Fox.
Yeah, absolutely, bro. It does. It's crazy. They're definitely. It's got a corporate push, and B, there is definitely a suppression going on. They don't want free thinking and free debate.
Yep.
And I think that's I think that is a takeaway that we can all see. It doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on.
Not at all.
It's very plain to see that among the community.
Well, I've seen if you've been following YouTube for a while, right, with all the phenomena of all those little YouTubers making it big and making it rich, becoming quick millionaires, and then people losing interest in cable TV and starting the streaming with Netflix and this and that. So you have to understand that was a big loss of money for a lot of big corporations. So right now it's too many people are having channels and this, and there's a lot of info going around, and nobody's making money off of this shit other than YouTube.
And those people aren't owned.
Exactly.
Right? I can't believe I would ever discuss PewDiePie, but when they went after him, that was a shot across the bow for all of us. Because that was corporate America saying, and the legacy media saying, "Oh crap, there's this guy out there. He has 8 million followers. He is super ridiculously popular. When he talks, his fans listen, and nobody owns him."
And that's when a whole bunch of people like me got demonetized, because they changed the rule of the 1,000 subscribe, because I have over 50,000 views and stuff like that on a few videos that I did when I was back in university and college for 3D animation, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was monetized. I just didn't have the subs, right? So they changed the rule for the subs. So I got demonetized, and there's a whole bunch of us that got that. I was not making money off of YouTube really, because I was not getting that much money off my my videos, but I had a lot of freaking views, because one of my biggest views was a Captain Flam homage that we did as a little school project. Captain Flam is Captain Future, I think, for you guys.
Okay.
So we did a little fun, a little thing. Was a school project, right? It's not like a movie. The idea was camera tracking, putting 3D in it, and putting somebody in it. So that thing went nuts, and the company made the money, the company that owns the right, because I had a copyright claim, right? Not a strike, but I was monetized. But when the PewDiePie thing happened, there's a whole bunch of people like me that got bye.
Yeah, that was the first YouTube apocalypse.
And now, come on, the stupid thing of the phone. You cannot stream through your phone now. Dude, you can't stream to your phone until you have 1,000 subs. You can only stream to your computer.
Oh
I beg to differ. I mean, you can only broadcast a stream from your computer.
Yeah, true. You can join a stream.
The trick is this is something that I found this is a workaround. I will take my laptop with me, and I will set the broadcast up with the laptop, and use my phone as a hotspot to manage that, and then I could take my phone with me and just come back to the laptop when it's done.
Well, I remember watching the Ferguson riots live as they were happening via streaming video. That there was a guy that was on the ground named Basim who was streaming live, and what they reported on television that evening was not what I had seen with my own eyes. It's called gaslighting. Don't believe your lying eyes. Mm-hmm. It was like, wait a second, that's not what happened. And then the next night, suddenly people are coming out of nowhere and they're grabbing his phone and they're smashing it. Mm-hmm. And that's happening. Then that started happening to him every night, and then he just disappeared. His streams just disappeared. Yeah, they want you to always get the official version, whatever it is.
Well, that see that is the reason why that is the reason why the corporate model is suppressing everything, is because you can't control free speech, right? And so it's difficult to monetize free speech as a corporation. So it's like YouTube can monetize views, and then when they were a smaller when they were a smaller business, when the creators were dominant and they needed people to create content for them, they were able to monetize that individual content. So they gave creators power. Then when they had the corporations come in and start like the Jimmy Kimmel show and that kind of stuff coming in and buying platforms, saying, hey, we want to throw money down on this, we want to brand it, we want control, we want dominance, we want that kind of stuff. That's when YouTube started doing things where they dropped categories. That was the first YouTube apocalypse.
Yes.
And that was about 6 years ago. So yeah,
I know you got hit by that. I know that.
Yeah, I got hit by that. Yeah.
It's. Oh, go ahead, Drew.
Well, no, this is why I think right now we're so important, and a website like Bounding into Comics is so important because we're a conduit to the person that wants unfiltered, no bullshit news. They want to read something that they can actually get some facts or get an opinion that's not corporate controlled, and it's the same thing with YouTubers. Small, large, people are counting on you to get that sort of unfiltered feel, that opinion, and when they're constantly turned to the news cycle, especially with what we have going on now, if you pay attention, it doesn't matter what channel it is. It could be a righty channel, lefty channel, all the major corporate news channels over sensationalize automatically. Every story you see, it's depressing for a reason. Every story you see, it is sensationalized for a reason. They literally capitalize off the desperation and depression of people. It's terrible. It's terrible.
It is. And also there's always a narrative, right? Or sometimes these days there's usually at least two narratives, right? The thing that's really insidious about American propaganda is now it is for specific groups of people. You look at propaganda throughout history, which is a subject that fascinates me. And I've done quite a bit of reading and research about. If you look at, like for instance, Italian fascist propaganda versus, Nazi propaganda versus, Soviet propaganda. There was one propaganda for everybody, but now there is propaganda for specific demographics, right? And they want to make sure that a certain narrative is followed. And my God, you can't have people like tuning into like cable news and then tuning in to like YouTube and suddenly hearing something that contradicts that narrative. And that's why when I'm watching like a YouTube channel and it immediately goes to cable news, it's like a way of saying, no, you're not watching that news. You're watching this news. Meanwhile, the reason I came to YouTube for news is to get away from you MFers. Know that your opinions are not your opinions. Your opinions are given to you. You're PR people. So if I'm watching somebody on YouTube, a YouTuber, I may not agree with everything that they're saying. I may agree with maybe almost nothing that they're saying, right? But I know that their opinion is their opinion.
Yep.
And you also know that you also know most of the time, before people do a broadcast and they're discussing current events and news, more oftentimes than not, the independent YouTubers come prepared. They're they explain things in a concise, clear manner, and most of the time they're not disrespectful to the audience they're speaking to. They're trying to get across their opinion, sure, but they're trying to bring across information to the public, not sensationalize it, say, "Oh, we're all doomed. You're gonna die."
Right. Or there's like a Russian
Yeah.
spy like hiding under every rock, or
Yeah.
that friend of yours that disagrees with you. Oh, they might be a Russian spy. Just saying. You know.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly, Brian. Exactly.
So that's
Send-
they
I'm
rightly
sending
perceive
Red
us as a
Gaze
threat.
So yeah, mainstream's failing and indie's rising.
Yep.
Mhm. Yeah,
Especially.
on every front.
Yep. Yeah, it is. And wasn't there big news? I know Tug suggested. I didn't follow up on it, but he dropped a post on the Twitter saying that there was like something big news about Diamond today.
Yeah, they're closing down, and DC stop. They're saying that they're going to be changing their marketing and distribution technique and not be dealing exclusively with Diamond anymore.
Wow.
And Diamond also announced that they couldn't pay some of their distributors or creators or stuff like that for their books because some of the stores couldn't pay them. So there's some payments that are not getting made. So right now it's pretty much like, remember that big thing that a lot of people discussed, that the big monster Diamond like not helping with their model that was
Right.
too old, and I was a bit too like take over and crush everything.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And pushing the LCS to buy more copies of the same book to get those exclusive, or sometimes, hey, we have 5-10 covers, you have to buy all of them, and what? No refunds, no
Yeah.
backsies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a lot of them didn't sell, so they ended up with a lot of stuff in their bins. How many freaking comic book shop that you went and there were more books in their bins?
Yes. Who wants to? Yeah, I mean, I know that there was like there were comic stores that were getting like tons and tons of Captain Marvels before the Captain Marvel movie came out that they didn't order.
And exactly, because they're trying to hide their sales. One of the things that they also did, Marvel and DC, is for a while you could find all their fucking graphic novels that they put as sales. Remember when they go, hey, look, we had a big rise in sales in trade paperbacks. Yeah, well, they fucking sold them to a fucking dollar store.
No,
in truckloads, and you found them out. I don't remember what was the thing, but a lot of freaking people were sharing pictures going to pick up like big trades for like $5 or something in a dollar store type of thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's intense.
Here's the thing. It's like we've as indie creators, we've been talking about a change in the industry for quite a while. We've been seeing it. You know what I mean? It's like,
we knew this was coming.
Yeah. So how this turns out is yet to be seen. But it definitely is not going to come back as it was. That's for sure. While I'm talking, I'm gonna make a transition here. I want to make sure we fully introduce Drew Taylor. Drew Taylor is with Bounding Into Comics. Drew, please tell us a little bit about yourself. How you got
a great guy.
Into comics themselves. Red Gaze has joined us. Red.
I was just about to say, hail Red Gaze. Hello, brother.
Get into the Gaze agenda.
Yeah,
I wanted to get those links in the chat before I jumped in.
Cheers.
Red Gaze, and congrats with Sunsworn, and really quickly, guys, I want to give a shout out to my boy, author Stephen Welton. He put out a book today, not comic book, but a book. But he finally got out volume 1 of the Phantom Menace book that he's worked so hard on. Phantom Menace Volume 1 of Phantom Betrayed. So I want to encourage people to check that out, because if you want to understand the movement behind the Phantom Menace, and looking for good storytelling and good entertainment in this era of people after people coming and changing iconic franchises to suit a very small minority of fans instead of the mainstream fans that they've counted on for years. Go and read this book. It's going to be very good. So check out author Stephen Welton. You can find his channel. I think Red Gates has his links and stuff. So
yeah,
that sounds
I'll
great.
put him in the chat. Yeah, Stephen Welton's awesome, man.
Mm-hmm. I actually read Red interviewed him on his show when he was first coming out with the book, and it does sound like a great book, a great read. So yeah,
Yeah, it is.
It does, and that's available in print or just via Kindle or download.
Well, right now he's getting the first batch out to his backers, and then it'll be available in print.
Are they still
Nice.
getting the bookmark?
Hmm?
I made a bookmark for them.
Yeah,
Did you, Simon? God bless you, man.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, if he doesn't have the file, tell him to let me know. Get it?
Okay. Yep, will do.
And now we have to wait for the
Because
person that's going to write the
it was a-
Comicsgate Chronicles.
It was a promise to your backers. So
So on the note of the Comicsgate Chronicles, there was a rumor that Adam Friended is trying to do a Comicsgate documentary. That's
Oh wow!
Oh, that would be sweet.
it would
But
be
you know,
interesting. I mean,
but-
it would definitely be. I mean, that's one thing about Adam Friended. I mean, a lot of people don't like him. You know, what I mean, I don't really have anything against him. I mean, he's
No, me neither.
Yeah, but he would definitely. I think he would definitely play it square on both sides of the line. You know what I mean?
That's all
so
we're
I-
asking for.
Mhm.
So yeah, so I think that he probably actually would make a pretty decent documentary. So I would like to see that happen. You know, personally.
Yeah, it's funny. Like you asked how I got started with bounding into comics and stuff, Drew. Man, I remember I was just I was one day just on their site, and I was perusing their site, and I was on Twitter, and I'm like, I'm gonna reach out to these guys and tell them, how good their site was, because I was really impressed with the stuff I was reading. And I just DM'd the Bounding Into Comics account, and I was like, "Hey, you guys have a great website. Really great for current entertainment events. What's going on in the comics industry? What's going on in movies and television? Man, I'm really impressed. I love this site." I said, "If you ever have a future opening for a contributor, let me know." I said, "I have limited writing experience. I only worked, because I had never worked in print before. I was just 1 year, like back in 2013, the extent that I had of experience was working as a, sports correspondent covering high school football. So that's a large leap." Well, anyway, John Trent, my who's now my boss, the guy that runs Bounding Into Comics, he answered back my DM, and he said, "You know what? I'm going to give you a chance, man." And he said, and it kind of just went from there. The first story I submitted, he loved, and I've been there ever since. And it's a great story, So if there's one thing that I guess I want to stress to the chat is never be afraid to make your own opportunities, open your own doors.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Oh yeah. Never hurts to ask.
Exactly, Brian. Exactly. And as far as
and you have to take a chance for people to take a chance on you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And as far as comics, it's funny because I started off when I was a kid. The comics that I read was obviously Spider-Man was my first big love as a comic book character, and then of course I discovered the X-Men, Uncanny X-Men, and I was hooked. And and then I went on, obviously, to I was always more of a Marvel guy, but I read a little bit of DC. I mean, Superman had strong Northeast Ohio ties here in the Cleveland area. So, I would read some Superman from time to time. And I liked Batman and stuff like that. But I was always more of a Marvel guy. And then when they had the Larry Hama series with G.I. Joe, I mean, with G.I. Joe in comics, I was a G.I. Joe, I played with the toys. I watched the cartoon. So I had to read the comics too. And the same thing with Transformers. And, so I was all over Marvel. And then I also, after a while, I liked Alpha Flight too. That was my other group. There's Alpha Flight fans are kind of few and far between, but man, they're awesome.
I loved
I
Alpha
have
Flight.
to ask you since you mentioned Alpha Flight. Okay, now there is an extremely obscure comic that I actually used to collect when I was really young.
Okay.
Extremely obscure. Like I think they made up like a total of 10 issues because they, because they didn't ever like have the money to pick up and be huge.
Mhm.
Alpha Force. I have searched for like a comic so we could talk about it with people. Like I've like searched for the comic. I've like Googled for it. I cannot find even one image or reference of it. Did you ever hear of Alpha Force?
I think I heard the name, but I've never seen the comic. No.
I actually had the first 5 issues. I swear,
Oh,
if I had
wow.
those now, they probably would be worth like a fortune.
Dude, I bet you, yeah, they would definitely be worth something. But yeah, I got it. The reason why I liked Alpha Flight when I was a kid was because I was always one of those like Sasquatch, like Bigfoot type buffs. I got into reading books about that and stuff, and they had the character named Sasquatch, so it was like, automatically he was my favorite team member. I'm like, they got a freaking Sasquatch.
I know. And Puck was great, and the X-Men Alpha Flight miniseries, that was fantastic. Remember that one?
Oh yeah, dude, absolutely.
Mark Adams, I think, was the artist.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And,
fantastic.
But I read comics up through the from my childhood, like as I was born in '74. I read them through the '80s. I read them probably up to about 92, 93 when I got out of high school. And then I stopped reading comics because, I was doing what guys do when we get out of high school.
Discovered girls.
I was chasing women. I was riding a crotch rocket. I was on top of the world and thought I was like, I thought I couldn't be touched. So I didn't even have time for comics at that point, and when I started working for Mounting into Comics now, I kind of like had to relearn the industry on the fly. And the cool thing was that I'm getting a perspective I never had as a reader when I was young. And that's like, an actual eye into, behind the scenes of what goes into it and into the industry. And now that, I've been with Bounding for almost a year now, I have a real appreciation, especially for independent creators. When I've met people like Red Gaze and I've met people like Sim, and, I've gone to the conventions, I've talked with, Barb Kelberg and Jim Steranko, and I meet people like Drew, I have an appreciation for the independent movement. The first small comic that I was like a fan of was back in the Chaos Comics days. Brian Polito, Lady Death and Evil Ernie and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I was all over that stuff because, man, I loved Lady Death from the minute I saw her. I was like, man, that's my comics crush right there,
Yeah, absolutely. These days, of course, she'd have to weigh like 300 pounds.
Oh, dude, yeah. I mean, my goodness, if you compare with the line of thinking with God, the woke warriors, as I like to call it, that Marvel just put out, man. I was like, man, what is she gonna be running around with that girl that looks like literally she's shaped like a poo emoji?
I'm still not convinced. I'm still not convinced that this is not a massive troll. How is this? I still can't wrap my head around the notion that this is not a satire.
I thought that at first too, Brian. I thought that at first too. I was like, are they really serious with this?
And the writer, who I know has gotten a lot of flack. I'm sure has been hassled a lot. He Kibblesmith? Yeah. I mean, it's not cool to like. Even his name is just so limp-wristed, right?
I know. I call him Kibble Bits.
And not to diss on like gay people. I've known some gay people who are like the manliest men you'll ever freaking meet in your life.
Absolutely, dude.
But this guy with his little buggy whip arms, his little pencil neck, and his little soy boy beard, and it was just like.
Dude,
Wait a second.
I've
You
never met a gay man that couldn't take kibble, Smith.
I never met a 12-year-old girl that could like tie him up into like a pretzel. He's just so low T. And this it's just astounding. But this is what happens when you get your writers off of Twitter and you get your artists off of Tumblr. You know, that's Tumblr art.
Exactly.
Yeah, I there are so many talented people that they could have commissioned.
Oh
If they wanted to make a really good original characters that tested boundaries, that were gay, that were trans, whatever, if they wanted to make a good backstory built around characters, if they wanted to, actually have compelling art instead of making those characters look silly and farcical like these are. I mean, my God, there's plenty of people, even in the independent community, that would jump at the chance. If they knew Marvel was serious and wanted to go in that direction and take it seriously instead of this. This is a joke.
That's an excellent
really
point. That's such an excellent point.
Here's the thing that I think is funny. Okay, it's not about. It seems as though the industry doesn't think about who the characters are anymore.
No.
They think about so that they're not like concerned. I mean, yeah, obviously they want the characters to be something new, something different. Like make this character like this and this character like this. But when it comes to hiring the people that do these characters, they want to have like social diversity people whose ideas that can be controlled from the upper tiers. And that is something I've noticed. It's like it seems as though everybody who's writing comics now, everybody who's working in even like the upper levels of like Universal and writing for the Sci-Fi Channel, and they're people who can be controlled.
But I also think that Drew T makes a really great point, or one that I hadn't even really thought about, which is that what if somebody came in and was like, you know what, I'm going to do an SJW comic and I'm going to actually do a good one, right? You look at Steven Universe, right? That's a social justice warrior cartoon. That's a case of social justice warriors making their own art. Not coming in and taking over old characters and turning them into albino Eskimo lesbians, but creating something new, right? Now, I'm not a Steven Universe fan, but for what it is,
on that note, Brian, the reason why I think there was a lot of SJW type of people making SJW type of properties, but those SJW properties were failing miserably.
Right.
And so they were losing money on them. And so the people who are, again, in control of trying to control the thoughts of their readers now,
right.
That's their thing. How can we get these ideas into media kind of approach?
Right.
They're like, okay, well, let's, since we can't create a new property, since nobody's interested, since the people who read comics are not interested in a new creator, in a new character that's SJW. Let's take an existing character and make them SJW so that we force the existing fan base to read our shit.
And that way also it makes its way into the movies, because that's always been the plan. Because this shit didn't start until after the Avengers was like the biggest movie ever.
Yeah, but don't forget also that if they change the original characters enough, they don't have to pay royalties.
Well, there was always like such a good formula. If you wanted to make, if you had a creator worth their salt that could launch a new character, that could, create a good story and do good art, you had that down. All you had to do was, if the character was unknown, they were making their debut, the first thing would always be, they would be in an issue of Marvel Team Up. Or they would be in a they would guest in a mainstream one of the main heroes books, so that they could get introduced to the audience and then
test them, and see if the fans
right, and then progressively on, then you could launch that character's whatever issue number 1 and go from there. And and that I don't understand why they would get away from that. It's just it was such a simple and easy formula, and it worked for so many heroes, especially when they were just debuting like in the 80s and 90s. A lot of heroes started off that way. If you recall, like there were a lot of Marvel heroes that got their start in Marvel team ups.
Absolutely. Yeah. Or like Marvel Spotlight or Marvel Preview. These were other books, where they would introduce new characters, or they would take like a B-list or a D-list character and give them like their own like solo adventure. Yeah, absolutely. It would that way they could see whether or not they what's up, Tatsu? They got a chance to see whether or not whether or not the readers clicked with these characters or not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's correct. That's correct. I think the reason why is because it's the people who run it aren't really comic book fans.
No, they don't
No,
know
they're
their
not.
history.
No,
No.
This is a company, okay, guys, that's hiring people like they're hiring people like Zoe Quinn.
Exactly.
They're asking outside people like Anita Sarkeesian for advice. I mean, what claim to fame do these women have other than like sitting there riding the coattails of a movement and getting themselves famous for 15 minutes? And well, Zoe Quinn's a bad person, but we're not even going to get started on her. But you guys know.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly. But the thing is like she has no business near comics. As much as I liked Homeboy as a wrestler, somebody like CM Punk has no business near comics.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a fan. Let him stay a fan.
Yeah.
Well, it's fine if they want to write a comic. I mean, it's like I have no problem if Heather Antos or any wrestler or anybody wants to write a comic. That's fine, but don't like give them like an immediate jump over something
front of the queue.
Yeah, exactly. Don't move them to the front of the queue. Let them work their way up, because there's a lot of people out there who are a lot better who would love. I mean, seriously, that would be a great job. I mean, I would love to be a writer at a major publishing where I can write what I wanted to write. However, that's the thing. Maybe Heather Antos is again very controllable from the bosses. Maybe that's the case.
Well, there's also like there's also a thing where there's no nobody's vetting experience anymore. Nobody's saying, give me a sample of your artwork. Give me a sample of your writing. They're just like they're checking their activism credentials instead.
That's exactly right.
Like for the last few years, if you were an artist, right, or a writer, and you go like, "Hey Marvel, hey DC, I'd like to work for you," they would answer, "Create yourself a webcomic, create yourself a clout, then we'll notice you."
Yeah,
That was the answer from Marvel and DC most of the time back then.
Oh yeah. And then I remember talking to Dennis O'Neil, who was like the Batman guy at DC for like 30 years.
One of the first big writers of Batman before Frank Miller.
He was the guy who made Batman cool again. He was the guy who gave Batman back his dignity with that legendary run with, of course, the amazing Neil Adams.
Mm-hmm.
And people were asking him like, well, how do you break into comics? And he said, oh, very, very, like it changes every couple of years. Right now, break into the movie industry, right? Because at that moment, they were hiring out of work screenwriters. That's who was writing comics, out of work screenwriters. But then after that, they were getting writers in some cases from reality TV shows.
Yeah,
right?
it's like
That's
remember
how Winnick's career started.
there was a moment where it was all the novelists that would come in, like Chris Claremont and stuff. Yeah,
Sure.
in the 90s, it was always like
Yeah.
Well, it's all about money. It's all about money. You know what I mean? It really is.
Well, not anymore because they ain't making any.
No. The reason it is about money because they're thinking that comic book money is chump change. So because the movies make so much money,
and
right?
even with the insurance, even if the movie's a failure, they make more money.
Right.
Yep.
Exactly. Because they can ensure the failure.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and if they break it down to after that renting IPs, So then it's you, Brian. If you decide to do a Batman comic, you ran the IP. You're the one taking the risk of it. They're just making money at this point.
Right. Right.
There's no risk. There's no loss for their comic book, and then they'll just invest in series and this. That's why they all started their own streaming thing, and it's also a good way because remember, how do you keep the copyrights, Brian?
You use the characters, but you change them.
And you have to keep them using constantly every.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why there was reprint and this. And when you have a TV show, it's always on.
Right. Yeah. Especially if
Okay.
it's in syndication. Yeah.
I want to say thank you, Tatsu and Hale.
Oh yeah, most definitely. And Tommy Mark in the house. Hail, Tommy.
Tommy
What's up,
Mark.
Tommy
Hail,
Mark?
Mark. What's up, man?
Hello and welcome,
So,
everyone.
Go search if you're interested in laughing at a book that's worth laughing at. I mean, I'm not sure laughing
with it.
Well, yes,
Not really.
Yeah, it's more laughing at than laughing with. Go search just two words: Best Korea on Indiegogo. Just search Best Korea. It's easy to find. The title's way too fucking long to communicate because Tommy Mark has a sick sense of humor and it does that.
Yeah.
So,
And like I like to say, love it or hate it, yeah, you got a reason to back it. So go check it out.
Yeah. If you think his comic shouldn't exist, give him $15 and he'll burn a copy for you.
Oh yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Tommy Mark's a pisser.
Yeah, he really is. He really is. It's fun. So yeah, so up here we were talking about this briefly. Let's like what the heck, Drew? Seriously, you please share with us what was your first impression other than the epic troll when you saw this stuff. I mean, are you like these characters here, Snowflake and Safe Space?
I mean, just the look of them is ridiculous. You know, I mean, you guys know, like I said, when I was a big time reader in the 80s and 90s, I mean, man, characters were drawn with care. They all had badass looks to them and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing that screams to me when you look at these characters anything badass about them. They look like victims.
Well, you heard Kibblebits say that like he had seen the New Warriors on the comic book rack and he didn't buy it because the characters looked too cool for him. Right.
Right.
So
He shouldn't be writing
being too cool.
Yeah,
Like,
I
you
mean,
think of like the first time that you saw Wolverine or the Punisher or any number of awesome characters, right?
right.
Batman. You think to yourself, like that dude, or Deathlock the Destroyer. I remember thinking, like, that dude looks awesome. I want to know what he's about. I want to know his story.
Exactly, because the first thing as a comics reader that you guys know, the first thing that draws you in is that cover art. When you see, you know, somebody like some of the old Batman comics, you know, the way muscles rippling, the guy's got a badass suit, he's mysterious behind that cowl, and you're like, man, I want to know about him. You know, like you said, Brian, or like, you know, the first time that we saw the Punisher introduced and how awesome he looked, we're like, oh my God, this dude is epic. The fact that I remember as a little boy having that Spider-Man issue where he appears at the end, and I was like, whoa, this guy's wearing a costume, like a superhero costume, but no mask. So that means he doesn't care if people know who he is. So he doesn't have a secret identity. He is the Punisher 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, right? Yeah. So immediately I'm like, I want to know more about that guy. And so, I was lucky. I started collecting that character long before he was popular. So I got all of those comics dirt cheap. But the thing is like, you know, this is like a team. You look at this team right here. But you can't picture them like
we have to.
You can't picture them fighting an enemy like Galactus or, you know, somebody like that. They would get crushed.
I see them fighting like their homeroom teacher or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Slap fighting.
I know. Yeah. They'd be like,
Wait a second. I smell something. Oh, never mind. It's just internet gas.
Uh,
Internet gas. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's retarded. That's retarded. And the thing is, here's okay. So 2 points here. First point, fucking Kibble shit should not have fucking wrote something this stupid. All right. Second point, Marvel should not have let this shit go public.
Oh my god!
And they're doubling down, dude.
How did this get past an editor's desk? The editor's desk, right? How did somebody look at this and go, "Yeah, this is fine"?
How
This is a great idea.
Did Marvel lose their their art curator? Because here's the thing. All right, Sim went to art school. He can back me up on this. All right, their colors indicate momentum. You know what I mean? Colors indicate message and personality in artwork. Okay, so like if you look at comics over the years, there's a few colors that you never see on any heroes or even the villains because the colors are weak. They're sissy colors. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, and one of those colors is fuchsia.
Oh boy.
The
Oh,
other
boy.
one is teal.
Right. Like powder blue. Jesus, man. Jesus. It's just and then what's her name? Trailblazer with her magical backpack.
With her spare tire that doesn't do anything but sit there.
Oh. And I love how there's a shot of her. I don't know if it's the cover or whatever. She's leading the team. She's running, and I'm just thinking like the rest of the team must be running like slow just to make her feel good.
I'm just curious. I'm curious how that conversation went. All right, so we need this, like, you know, let's have, you know, there's a lot of fat girls out there, so let's do that thing because, you know, we need to like make the fat girls feel like they're included. So let's have a character with a health condition, with an obesity health condition, and it have nothing to do with their superpowers in any fucking way at all.
What? Right now, I'm imagining that girls would write like if they're reading something like Wonder Woman. You know, I always say the biggest mistake the American comics book industry ever made was not making comics for its female readership anymore. For basically saying "F you" to like 55% of the population.
Well,
That's
no,
not to say that there weren't always girls that still read comic books.
On that moment, see, here's the thing: is like a lot of people forget this, Brian. Okay, it's the markets are a supply and demand business.
True.
Right?
True.
So the fact that girls don't give a fuck about comics on any large scale. All right, there are girls that like comics. They exist.
Okay, can I just make one precision in there? It's like mostly women don't like superhero comics. So that was a different market that was marketed to boys.
Yeah,
so that's why that's one of the reasons why manga kind of outsells American
10-1.
comics.
10-1
Because the superhero aspect of it was mainly marketed for boys.
Absolutely, they had romance comics, the Western comics. There was like something for everybody.
Archie comics, right there. That was a dominant girl market. Archie comics was a dominant girl market.
You used to have Barbie comics. You used to have like other fantasy type of comics. You used to have those type of like fairy tales type of comics. Image was one of the big revelation because of it, because you could have different type of comics during the mid-90s, where you would have comics for everybody. That's what that's why it's one of the things that we discuss a lot of us in the background. It's like, isn't it weird that if you remember the 80s and the 90s, all this diversity and racism and all that shit was not a fucking issue until they kind of like took over. Now it is. There's less of it. Before it was like, come on. Before it was not cultural appropriation. It was cultural acceptances. It was, come on.
Cultural appropriation.
It was appreciation. Sorry, that was the right word. Cultural appreciation.
There's always been diversity in comics. There's always been diversity in superhero medium. I mean, even in the 1940s versions of comic books, there was diversity. Captain America's first team, his first Avengers team, who were not superheroes. You know what I mean? They were actually soldiers. There was
Invaders.
is that what they call it, the Invaders? They had a black sniper on that team.
Mm-hmm. Well, see, I want to take it a step further, guys, and Red Gaze and I go on a lot of the Fandom Menace streams and stuff like that, and this just isn't a problem in comics; it's across all of
it is
all of entertainment
Sure.
as we know right now, because it's obviously it's bled into Star Wars, it's bled into Star Trek, it's bled into so many iconic.
Doctor Who.
Yes. Yeah. Doctor Who. Oh God, we won't even get started on Doctor Who. Red Gaze, man.
Yeah, it's more like Doctor What.
Doctor
What?
Doctor What?
I completely agree with Gary's assessment of Doctor Who, but no, like this is a problem all over through movies, television, comics, everything right now. Yeah. And the argument that I present, and this is one of the best framed arguments for the people, especially now, that are like, oh, diversity is just happening now, and you guys just don't want it to happen. It's like, no, diversity has always been there. Go back and watch. As a matter of fact, right now, guys, if you're a fan of the old G.I. Joe cartoons, they're on Hasbro just put them out on the G.I. Joe YouTube channel, I think now. Sweet. So you can have a G.I. Joe marathon while you're quarantined. But that's cool. But the cool thing is, like, about that, you take G.I. Joe, for instance, they had one of the most diverse teams when that cartoon came on of anybody. You had representation from Black people to Native American to white. You had Asian. You had everything.
Right.
Men,
so
women,
exactly
silver people.
Because that makes sense, because that's America. Wait.
Hold on. But let's address the fucking elephant in the room. So, like, the idea of diversity isn't color scheme. Okay. The idea of diversity is you got to have diversity. There's not enough fat people and not enough gay people.
It's not. Well, yeah. I mean, it's all about an agenda, and these people know nothing about storytelling. Mm-hmm. They know nothing about writing. About
the minority
comics.
Wants to be the majority.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Well,
and the thing is it's escapism, right? You don't write a superhero fantasy sci-fi. You don't write any kind of comic that is like that. And you try to find a character that's based in reality. You don't do that because you want these people to be something that's like an ideal, something
larger than life.
Yeah, you don't. No one wants to be a short fat girl. You know what I mean? Nobody wants to be a short fat girl.
It's not in Greek mythology. Right?
Why did I would have taken her seriously if they would have made her like something like the daughter of the Blob or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Right. I loved who I don't know who it was that had the idea, but I loved their idea where, like, instead of having a backpack that has everything, that she herself could eat anything and then regurgitate it. You know what I mean? That would have been awesome. It would have made sense that she was a big cow at that point. It would have made sense because her superpower is, I store everything in my belly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
She could have.
That would have been awesome.
I would have done that. She could have been the female fat bastard, the heroine.
Right, exactly.
Right, with a big F-U. You know what I mean?
Get in my belly!
Yeah. No, that would... It's exactly.
Baby back.
But these people don't know anything about comics. They don't know anything about storytelling. I'm sure most of you are familiar with Comic Book Girl 19. I don't know what her opinion is now, but I remember right around when this time started, she said exactly the right thing. She was like, fuck these people. They're not part of the fandom. Fuck them. Right? And if the industry had said that, everything would have been fine. But what did they do? They gave them an inch, and what have they taken? They've taken a mile.
Let's address that though. Let's address that. So like in the people that are at the upper echelon of these industries aren't the people that started these industries, right? These are people that like as an industry gets old, right? The people that start it age out and die. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Stan Lee even passed away recently as a heavy hitting, nail in that coffin of what I'm talking about. Yeah, I know that's kind of a morbid way to put it, but so because the people that started these industries, started these companies, are gone. These companies have been sold. They've been changed hands. They've gone to a corporate level. but not just that, not just a corporate, but like media corporate, right? So media corporate is driven by the two coasts, New York City and LA. Now, both of those industries used to be dominated by a certain I don't know. I don't want to say it. I don't want to. Okay, let's just say that it wasn't like socially incorrect to say it this way back then. It was pretty much driven by the Jewish community. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
The Jewish community owned Hollywood. They owned New York media.
Sure.
They were like
the Lumleys.
Right. And so you had to have white skin and blue eyes to be a star because that's what they wanted. You know what I mean? And now that industry has slowly shifted. In Hollywood, the movie industry got dominated by homosexual people. That's not a bad thing, but the thing is that what makes it bad is now those people are trying to take their own personal agenda. Yes. And it's like, you know what? We don't want to be outcast anymore. We want we want homosexuality to be normalized. So now because that's their main focus, they want homosexuality to be normalized. They want little children to like think that homosexuality is something you're born with and it's all good and all, you know what I mean? Like this, they want to force that mindset. So they're using their agenda and they're forcing it into comics. They're forcing characters like, well, you know, you don't, it's okay to be fat. It's okay to be fat. I'm like, you know, it's okay to, it's not like the end of the world if you're overweight, but guess what? You know what I mean? If you're unhealthy, overweight, you really should try and fix that because you want to have a longer life. Yes. You want to be able to do more things with your life. It is not a desired result to be unhealthy. You know what I mean? But this comic almost sells the fact that this Trailblazer, it's cool to be a short, fat girl.
Where is her neck, by the way?
Yeah, I know exactly.
Maybe she swallowed it.
I mean, you're making great points, Drew. Now, if you look at I mean, I'm somebody that loves his LGBT peeps and is very pro gay rights and and the normalization of
I mean, I sound like if I don't do the
exactly.
I am not against homosexuality in the slightest, even a little bit. I got nothing against anybody. I say do your own thing. Absolutely. Just don't force it in. Don't force things.
Well, don't make it the focus.
Well, no,
don't
think about the story. Think about like this. No, think about like this. What if somebody decided that alcoholism was now needed something to be like normalized? Like it's okay. It's fine. You're just an alcoholic.
Well, it was in the past. It was like in the 1950s, right?
Yeah, but they didn't promote it as if it was a heroic thing. You know what I mean? They just said it was like, dad comes home and he drinks because life sucks. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
They had cigarettes and things because everybody smoked and the industry was promoting.
Right. Yeah.
But different.
Yeah. You look at something like Valiant has this character. What's her name? This like morbidly obese girl that floats. It's not Grace. It's not Glory. It's help me out here, guys.
Blamp. Her name Blamp.
Anyway, her
Faith.
boyfriend. Yeah, Faith. Yeah, and her boyfriend is like a male model with a six-pack and everything. Right? So it's okay for women to be fat, but it's not okay for guys to be fat.
Yeah, and then here's the thing:
you notice that here too.
And again, fat characters are not saying we don't do a fat character. I mean, Marvel did the Blob.
Yes,
the Blob was a fat character, and it made sense.
Right, and you can have other characters that are like
they made characters that were like 5-something, 4-something. Not the most attractive trait in a man neither, and they were very popular characters like
Volstagg the Voluminous, right? Who is very much a Falstaffian character. Falstaff being one of Shakespeare's most famous creations from the King Henry IV and King Henry V, right? This big bombastic guy that's a hard drinker, hard eater, hard effer, and with this huge belly and this big voice, everything about him larger than life. That's totally cool. There's no reason why you can't have characters like that. But then they take a character like Big Barda, right? Who was, like this 7-foot tall glamazon, right? Beautiful brunette with legs that went on forever, super hot. And the last time I saw her, she was Big Barda in a different way. They made her fat.
That's awful.
And they took, I remember at one point, I think they changed it back because to like match like the Wonder Woman movie.
Mhm.
But before that, they had Wonder Woman practically in a burqa.
Do you remember what's the name of the old lady in there, like the mean lady that's always with Darkseid? Grandma? No.
Oh yeah,
Granny.
Granny Goodness.
Granny Goodness.
Granny Goodness, yeah.
Yeah, you remember that every time that you would see her like younger, like she didn't look that much different. She was still fat, thick, like
Yeah.
a big like woman that you wouldn't, you like, okay, she could toss me, like, I'll wrestle you type of thing.
Yeah. But she was a villain.
But
she was a villain. You
now-
see, that's you can't do that.
Hold on a second. Now,
Yeah.
she was a babe. Went back then, and she got raped by Darkseid. That was one of the big stories they did not too long ago.
Oh,
They
God.
they had me to Darkseid.
Make it stop.
So
Make
when
it
she was
stop.
younger, she was an actual hot babe, like Wonder Woman type, and she got raped by
And that's
Darkseid.
why she went on to do such horrible things. because
Yes,
of toxic
obvious.
masculinity.
Exactly.
I'm telling you,
So,
man. Batman's
so-
getting
so-
pegged. Batman's getting
so-
pegged this year. My
You
prediction.
You already did.
Getting pegged by Catwoman. It's coming. You think I'm
Oh,
joking?
Or the Joker.
I thought you were gonna say he's gonna get pegged by his gay Asian butler now.
Batman already is, because if you're looking at what they're doing right now, they're
Emasculated him.
No. They're doing worse than that. They're shifting the gear that every bad guy, including the Joker, were actually like technically good sympathetic guy, and Batman is just a fucking dick that's rich.
Right. Because he represents everything that
Mhm.
they hate. Represents everything that they hate. I've never met a social
slowly-
justice
they're-
warrior that didn't hate Batman.
They're slowly doing it.
Yeah, it makes sense. That makes sense.
You know,
Because he's rich. When meanwhile he's every bit, he was born a billionaire, but of course he had his life shattered, and he is a self-made man in the sense that he
Do we-
became what he is by training hard every day, 8 hours a day for like 14 years.
Not just that, it's like, dude, we already wonder how the fuck can he do it being Batman at night and being a multimillionaire during the day. Imagine now he has to have a life, a relationship, kids, and like, dude, a person like that wouldn't have time for this shit.
No way.
I mean, you know,
you think Catwoman's gonna get an abortion?
Yes, I do actually. I do.
oh God.
I do. I'm
Yeah,
telling that's
because I
coming
wouldn't
too.
do
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
I wouldn't do that.
And then
to
Batman
That's
will
why
go
she's
through.
that's why she's
Batman,
pregnant.
And then Batman will have like a series of like depressed moments where he's all like just depressed because
He's gonna sit around
Yeah,
and listen.
Didn't
He's
they
gonna
just-
sit around and listen to The Cure and
Didn't they just change who Damon
Bite his
Wayne's
knuckles,
dad was? Like
Did
they just I think they just changed it. Like it's not Bruce Wayne's son after all. It was somebody else. I think it's Ra's al Ghul or somebody else. I don't know.
I don't know.
Something-
I don't. And here's the thing: they love too. If you listen to social justice warriors, like on their Tumblr accounts and that sort of a thing, they're like, "This is canon now. This is canon." They're all about changing the canon.
yeah.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, I'm like, "Yeah, it's canon until it gets retconned again."
Brian, I'm telling you, man, this is like I said, this is happening all over.
I know.
Star Trek and Star Wars and stuff too.
I don't watch that shit.
And it's crazy, and that's why thank goodness for the traditional fan, for people that have grown up on comics, or if you like Star Wars, if you like Star Trek, if you like high fantasy, anything that you've grown up on. Thankfully, there are people out there speaking up for you, people in the Comicsgate movement, people in the Fandom Menace, because at the core of the principles of all these movements is we want to get the politics, the identity politics, the garbage ideals out, and we want to go back to good storytelling.
Yes.
And
Amen.
Here's the thing. I honestly don't believe that we should tell them that you can't have your ideas and your politics in comics.
Of course.
Let's just tell them. Let's say when you put your ideas and your politics in the comics, don't fuck up the comics.
Don't
You know
make
what I mean?
shitty comics. Don't make
Yeah.
shitty comics, and don't
Maybe-
shit all
maybe
over these legacy characters.
And
Maybe
don't
make
cookie
a
cut
comic
it, please.
dedicated. Make a new comic dedicated to that. Just make a new
Yeah.
comic
Sure.
dedicated to your politics. Don't come after and try and force your politics on Batman fans. You know?
well, there.
Please.
Like this ain't no Tupperware party, so we're expecting quality. Like,
See, there's a way. If you're a writer, you can write a gay character, a trans character in a very compelling way.
Yes.
Give them an awesome backstory. Give them make them a respectable hero using just simple hero's journey.
Yeah,
Yes.
and address their plight. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Give a character AIDS. You know what I mean? A superhero has AIDS. You know what I mean? And
You don't have
You know?
to just beat somebody in the head like hey, look at me, I'm gay now, and that's
Right.
that. It's just not enough for them to exist. If you want to get them over as a compelling hero, they need a compelling story to go with.
And they have no sense of responsibility. To go back to something, to go back to Dennis O'Neil, he said that when they had the whole thing where they killed, it was the second Robin. Was that Jason Todd? Jason Todd, right?
the second one,
Yeah.
He said he'd never seen anything like it. Everybody hated that character, and it didn't matter who was writing him. It's like he took on a life of his own. He said he'd never seen anything like it. Everybody just naturally wrote him as a dick. Everybody didn't like him. So, of course, they did the Death in the Family thing where they had a whole gimmick where you could give like thumbs up, thumbs down.
Everybody voted,
and they knew exactly what people wanted. And he said he went into like a deli like that week and, was going to like order a sandwich for lunch. And the guy working there went, "Hey, everybody, this is the guy who killed Robin." And he says at that moment, he realized that he and his fellow comic book writers weren't just writing funny books. He said, "We are the custodians of folklore. These people do not give a fuck about being custodians of folklore. They don't care about creating a Superman or a Batman or a Spider-Man or any of these great, classic, iconic Jungian archetypes for the next generation, right? They don't consider themselves stewards of these characters.
Not in the least.
Not in the least. No respect whatsoever. If I was fortunate enough to get my dream job and write the Fantastic Four, it would be with a sense of reverence, hopefully not staleness, right? I'd want to make it as fresh as possible, do my own thing with it, but there would always be that sense of responsibility. Right? That this is something that, I have to think. I would think that every comic I was writing, this may be the first comic that's going to end up in a child's hands.
I when we discuss this thing, I always remember, Dash in The Incredibles.
Yeah.
When it's like everybody's special. Yeah, that when you say everybody's special, what you're trying to say is that nobody really is.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like there is people that stand out. And some people just don't want them to stand out anymore. It's like equal outcome, not equal opportunity. It's equal opportunity, not equal outcome. And people want equal outcome, just not because you just decide that you want to be something. You are. You have to put the work into it, the study, the this, the that.
Kurt Vonnegut wrote a story about this called Harrison Bergeron.
Mm-hmm.
Which is about a world that is all about fairness and equality. Everybody's the same. So if you're really smart, you have to take a drug that makes you dumb. If you are like the ballet dancers are all weighted down with like sandbags and things like that.
It was the premise of Equilibrium too. The movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, well, Equilibrium stole liberally from that, from Fahrenheit 451, from
Mhm.
1984, Brave New
Very
World.
Great movie.
Love it.
Way underrated.
Way underrated. Way underrated. It did find its audience though on
Yes.
when it came out on
It became
DVD.
a cult. It became a cult.
Yeah,
movie.
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, it's comics are definitely not even anything close to resembling a meritocracy, and they've made it very clear they don't want people like us. But you know what? Look at where they're headed, and look at where we're headed.
Mm-hmm.
So it's actually working out for the best, I think.
Yeah, now that it seems like they're heading to try and take over our turf, and
Oh, that's gonna happen. That's gonna
Oh,
happen.
Yeah, that's
But you know us, right? We
mhm.
put up a fight. We stand our fucking ground.
But
You
we'll
know,
see. We'll see.
come at thee.
Yeah, come on. But we'll see if everybody is like that, because I'm not going to name names, but there's already one interloper I could think of, right? That's been embraced with open arms. And no, I'm not talking about Dan Fraga. Thumbs up to him. I love his stuff. But we are going to get people that are going to want to move in and hop on to the train that we've built. And I'm all about welcoming newcomers. But, if there's people that have been, talking smack and, suddenly they're changing their tune because they just want to survive, right?
And I'll repeat what I said before. This ain't no Tupperware party.
No.
Well,
God, Simon.
I think the worst thing and probably the most offensive thing that I see is the fact that especially the Marvel writers lately coming out and attacking the fan base and
Oh my God.
projecting it onto the fans, saying that you guys are toxic assholes. We don't care about you. Blah blah blah. That's not exact words what they're saying, but that's the exact thoughts that they're putting out there toward the fan base, and it's like what you're doing is you're copping out. You're projecting that onto the fans, but really and truly, it's your own shortcomings and your own short-sightedness that is causing the problem. It's not the fans.
Why did Birds of Prey bomb?
Oh, I can tell you why it bombed.
Misogyny, right?
Yeah, of course.
Right? It's our responsibility to go and see this piece of hot garbage. I literally made it 15 minutes into that piece of shit before I turned it off, and it was too much. It was too much. I was just like, I can't do this. I even managed to watch a Suicide Squad, which is a piece of garbage. I managed to watch it all the way to the end. I made it 15 minutes into Birds of Prey. Hot garbage, dumpster fire. But it's my responsibility to go and see it and buy a ticket, because otherwise, my misogyny.
Well, here's I think another good point of why especially the corporate comics industry and the corporate movie and television industry in general, why they're trying to demonize consumers like us is, if you look around, and Redgaze can speak to this because he knows, all the community, all the fandom communities very well. If you look at the Fandom Menace, if you look at Comicsgate, War Campaign, Fandom Collective, all of the fandom movements together, we are a lot of diverse people, like Brian, right now, you and I talking, I'm a center, kind of conservative skewing guy. You're a classical liberal guy. We get along. It's not about politics.
No.
We can talk to one another till the cows come home. You know why? Because it's a BS narrative that they put out there in the first place.
Yeah.
That everybody has to be against one another. So they demonize us and say that we're toxic. But in the meantime, we're shattering their narrative completely because we all accept one another and work together.
Yeah,
well,
like I said last time,
they can't stand that.
Your best friend, your best goddamn friend is usually like a bit of your polar opposites on
Mhm.
certain things. You're rarely having a close friend that's exactly like you.
Very
Because you're
true.
boring as fuck, for one thing.
Mhm.
Right? If you're
Yeah.
as the legendary American poet Ice-T put it, if you agree with
Fuck the
everything that I'm
police.
saying,
Fuck the police.
if
Yeah.
you agree with what I'm saying, with everything that I'm saying, then only one of us is doing the thinking.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like nobody like the expression nobody likes a yes man.
Nobody,
Yeah.
nobody wants to sit around in an echo chamber, man.
Right.
Everybody likes different thoughts, and when you can, when you have a circle of friends where people can be your system of checks and balances, sometimes,
Absolutely.
that's good. That's
The
good.
biggest problem in the society or or in any type of anything is the lack of communication. As soon as you cannot debate, you cannot talk, you cannot. We're having a problem here. It's like we cannot discuss anything. There's a little problem.
I've had friends of mine, right, lockstep Democrats, of course, who have gotten on my ass because I'm like, yeah, well, I was talking to my neighbor, who's like a Trump voter, and they're like, you're talking to a Trump voter? And I'm like, yeah, that person's my neighbor. So you're telling me that I shouldn't be talking to my neighbor? Like, F you.
Yeah.
First of all, who
That-
are you to tell me who I should be talking to? But,
that gets ridiculous. That whole thing. That's a whole nother rabbit hole. I had an issue last night. I was talking to a guy who's a hardcore Trumpian, and his facts are fucking out the window.
right.
I mean, I'm a Republican that doesn't like Trump, you know what I mean. And there's a lot of us that they just don't. They're just like kind of skewed in politics. Well, I'm gonna transition us because I want to talk about this, and then I want to go into some comic books while we still have time.
Oh, yeah, I'm very curious. Yeah.
Yeah. So DC Comics circles the drain, reveals gay Alfred and Chinese American Bruce Wayne as more franchise killing abominations. Now, wait, let's address these 2 points individually. First, gay Alfred, something that cannot happen in the Batman series for a very big reason, because of the Robin Ward thing.
Yes.
If Alfred was gay, it makes the situation kind of toxic.
Mhm.
It's the same reason why in the 60s, they actually kind of played with the idea of Batman being gay a little bit.
Mhm.
They played with the idea, and then they realized that if Batman was gay, he would be accused of being a pedophile. They would assume that him and Robin had a relationship. You know what I mean? And that ruins the purity of the motivation of the characters at the time. Because in the 60s, Batman wasn't a killer. He wasn't a killer back then. He didn't become a killer until later. You know what I mean? So it was really a big issue. And so the whole Alfred being gay thing is really kind of atrocious to me. And the other thing that I think is absolutely ridiculous, Bruce Wayne being Asian, gives me one image in my head. One image in my head.
Yeah.
Seriously, it gives me this image.
Yeah. Yeah. And we
Where's your
love the
new Bruce
Bruce. We love the Bruce. The Bruce was the man.
Oh yeah,
Wait.
me. I had what's
Wait.
the name of the Kung Fu Master on Marvel? That's what I had in my head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking too, Master of Kung Fu,
Master
Deadly
of
Hands
Kung
of
Fu,
Kung Fu. And those are great comics, but and I've always thought that Batman is the perfect character to do like a martial arts movie with, right? But yeah, I think you're right, Drew. I think that's exactly
There's your new Bruce Wayne.
yeah.
Yeah, look, I'm Filipino. I'm Asian, and
Yeah.
I don't want an Asian Bruce Wayne.
No.
I want the traditional Bruce Wayne.
Same thing with Superman. Like an ethnic.
The only badass Asian Bruce I want is Bruce Lee.
Word.
Exactly.
Word. And he was the frickin' man. I could go off for hours about the Bruce, which which I'm not going to do, obviously. But it's when you think about he did play a superhero, right? But he was 0.0%
Bruce Lee
body fat.
was a real life superhero. Let's just be
Yes.
real.
Yes.
Bruce Lee
Yes.
was a real life
Word.
superhero.
Word.
He actually in the Asian community, he actually in the Chinese community specifically,
Yeah.
he is a real life superhero for reals.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Absolutely.
So-
Absolutely. transformative figure. Also, and not the greatest martial artist who ever lived, but an ambassador for martial arts.
He revolutionized kung fu.
Oh, he created mixed martial arts.
Mushu.
So and he was just starting. He was just beginning. He was 32 when he died. Oh yeah, Jeet Kune Do.
Jeet Kune Do, thank you.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, which has combinations of multiple different martial arts, including American
I had the
boxing.
book and I learned. Yeah.
Yeah, so transformative figure, absolutely. But I think maybe what they're thinking there is, well, Bruce Lee was playing Kato, right? Who was like second banana to the Green Hornet,
but dominated the show. Anybody who ever watched the Green Hornet show, all the fans of the Green Hornet show loved Kato. The white fans, the black fans.
In China, it was called Kato.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It was
there you go.
Kato.
It was the Kato show. Right.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. The Bruce was the shit, man. Oh fuck, I love that guy.
He is one of my lifelong heroes.
It's like this story that out of nowhere they like shut the light and he just jumped 9 feet tall to just kick it out. It was not even in the script. I just thought it would be cool.
Yeah, I think that was in that movie that he made with James Garner.
Wasn't it in Green Hornet? I thought it was.
That in Green? I think he did that in Green Hornet too, actually.
Yeah. Jumped up and like, ding, we're done here.
Yeah. Insane, man. Insane.
Dude, we're talking about like a 5'7", I think.
Yeah.
He could jump 9 feet high.
I know. I know. So cool. And he was like the Chinese American James Dean. You could not take your eyes off him when he was on the camera. Charisma out the ass. Oh, we're looking at Blood Hunt. Yeah, baby. Which I just backed yesterday. Looking forward to this.
So Sam, while we still have some time here, give us a quick 5-minute pitch on Blunt Hunt and tell people why they need to back it today.
You don't want to miss this because this is the most badass vampire in comics. It's like bringing back the vampire, the badass vampire that Twilight killed, including the werewolves. So you start a story with an assassin. He's human, and he's known as the Reaper worldwide. He's like the top assassin. Imagine like a John Wick type mixed with Dexter a bit, right? Mm-hmm. So, right when we started the story, he's working for the Venditti family at this point, and he's also secretly dating his daughter, his boss's daughter. Nice. So one day he gets sent on a mission to, as a family favor type of thing, and he's supposed to kill an old man in his sleep. And when he gets there, finds out that he's there to eat lunch, and the old man is an ancient vampire. And part of the the vampire council of the supernatural. So not gonna tell you how that goes, but he dies, becomes a vampire, and that's when he discovers that there's a whole bunch of supernatural creatures living among us, and there was this magical veil hiding them from humans. So yeah, so he's dead set on vengeance and getting that to his boss, but he also learns that there's another world around him, and there's another set of rules there.
All right. Well, tell people what they can get in your featured perk here. What's coming in the
featured perk? You get the 2 exclusive covers, which you get the colored cover plus the wraparound cover, which is black and red, and in it you're gonna have cameos of a whole bunch of like people that really like promoted Blood Hunt. It's like my way of saying thank you.
Yeah, so he killed me in the book.
Yeah, don't you get decapitated in that, Drew?
He cut me. He cuts me in
half. You in half.
Yeah.
Hey, at least you didn't get the dildo.
Hail, Red Gaze.
Right. Now, okay. So what's
they get? They also get an exclusive print, and they get a sticker.
See, there you go, and it's the Vincent sticker, which is very cool.
Yeah,
that is right here
by 6am. Yeah.
Oh hell yeah.
Yeah, by Mark Marinelli from 6am, the 6am Collins, who does Starfetched.
He's astounding.
Beautiful.
Who also dies in my book.
He's the one who gets decapitated.
He's the one that gets decapitated, yeah.
Right. Now you get the digital for 20. That's self-explanatory. You got the signed Blood Hunt physical copy for 25, which is a great deal. You get the original art, which is you will do original art for them, right?
Yep.
And then that's $100. You got the 10 copies of Blood Hunt, which obviously is if you're a hoarder, that's a good way to go. And then you got the all in plus original art, which is a great option if you are a fan of original art. But obviously, I want to see everybody pick up this nice $50 all-in perk. I think that's what thing. I mean, you don't have much time. There's time's running out. He's closing the in-demand store tonight.
Yep.
So get this now. Get one of these now. Don't wait until the end of the day. Don't wait to the last minute. He's not going to reduce prices. It's not going to be some kind of like exchange rate change in between now and then. You know what I mean?
If you snooze, you lose, folks.
And then I want to point out one more thing.
And if we reach the 10K, every physical book backer gets a sketch card. Yeah. So it's extra work for me. You'll put a little 2 weeks delay, like a 2 week something delay, but I'm gonna be drawing those sketch cards, and you're all gonna be getting one in the book.
Now, so that's an original piece of art.
And remember this also. Okay, this is a very, very important. I don't know if anybody out there has actually looked at the original Ninja Turtle books, but this has the same feel and attitude as the original Ninja Turtle series, the original ones, the first ones. You know what I mean?
That's an interesting comparison. Yeah.
So think about when this thing ages as an IP. This copy here, these copies here are going to be worth what? Because those original books go for anywhere between $50,000 to $100,000 right now.
Oh my god!
And it will say first printing in it.
Yeah. So there will be no doubt that this is the thing to get. So $50 for a chance to have something that's going to be priceless someday.
And another thing that I would like to add is I know people that the shipping is a bit high, but I am from Canada, right?
Right.
So what I did is it cost me $25 to ship, so I cut $5 off for you for the single issue, and it's not costing you more than $25 if you buy the $50. You get 2 books, and it's only $25 shipping, so it's not that much more expensive. I tried to have my American brothers back.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, we always talk about how how the foreign shipping is so killer. We're always trying to find a way around that, or looking at different ideas.
Yeah,
yep.
No,
we'll figure it out eventually.
I agree, because I actually tried something different on my campaign this time, where I have every tier U.S. shipping for free, and then the foreign shipping is discounted for the same price as the U.S. shipping. So.
That's awesome.
My wish is to be able to be just charge you like 15 down the line.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So Brian, your turn, buddy. Give us an update. Tell us what's going on here.
Oh, yes. This is Six Gun Gorilla, the Big Gun Down. This is the second campaign for Six Gun Gorilla. The previous one, which was a surprise hit, which was praised by Easy Ethan Van Sciver and also Cecil Dog and various other people. Clint Stoker said it was the best written indie comic, or best written crowdfunded comic that he's ever read. It is the story of a gorilla that is whose tribe is slaughtered, and he is taken to America, raised as a circus ape, raised as one of the family, and then his family is brutally slaughtered before his eyes, and he sets out on the vengeance trail. So this is old school pulp Western action with a gorilla with handguns the size of small howitzer cannons, and everybody seems to love it, and I couldn't be more grateful for that. The tiers are very simple. It's the McDonald's menu, basically the original McDonald's menu. If you're new to Six Gun Gorilla, you can get the original trade paperback, Long Days of Vengeance, which collects issues 1 through 6. You can get it with a brand spanking new variant cover by Kanan White. And you can also get if you already have the Long Days of Vengeance, the graphic novel, you can get the latest chapter, The Big Gun Down, also known as issue number 7. You can get that by itself for $15. Or if you buy them together, I knock $5 off the price.
Awesome.
There you go. That's nice. So, what is the coolest thing that you like best about creating a Six Gun Gorilla, Brian? What is it about that makes it this your absolute passion project?
Oh, it's the storytelling. It's the storytelling, and then it's getting the art and being very happy with the art. Although, really, I have to say, what I've really enjoyed the most is just hearing people telling me how much they love it. That it struck a chord that with more people than I thought it would. I thought certain people would really like this book. I didn't think like everybody who read it would love it.
I loved it. I read it. I loved it.
Thanks, brother.
Although I'm gonna have to tell you, this is funny. I read it on the toilet. Just saying.
That's okay. I don't mind.
That's where I get that's where I have the time to actually do reading. You know what I mean? Because so it's
not a problem, brother. Not as long as you didn't use it for TP. I'm okay.
No, I didn't want to taint it. I'm just letting you know that.
No,
Don't touch your taint with
if I'm reading it on the toilet, it got my full attention. You know what I mean?
So yeah, no, people dig it, and like once again, it's critically acclaimed, and that's not me boasting. That's me being really, really grateful. Because you never know if when you put your work out there, you don't know if it's going to click with people or not. And I've just been very blessed. It's been very, very well received.
Well, the first book is amazing. The second book, I'm sure, is going to be equally as great.
The latest installment, The Big Gun Down, which we're looking at pages from right now, is nonstop mayhem. Nice. This issue isn't the climax of the story. There's still 3 issues left before we get to that, because it's going to be a 10-issue arc. But this is the issue where you get like a major payoff in terms of just straight up body count.
It looks like it.
It ain't called The Big Gun Down for nothing. But also, I want to mention that this is a story that has heart. This is a story that has soul, and that if you're coming to watch a gorilla fuck people up with big giant guns, you're going to get that, but you're also going to get something that you didn't expect. You're going to find your emotions tugged and played with.
Oh, you're saying he's going to grab you by the boo-boo is what you're saying.
Yeah. But the story is going to involve you in ways that you didn't expect.
All right. So everybody go back Six Gun Gorilla.
Thanks, brother.
Somebody, while I'm doing this, somebody drop the links for these in the chat, just so they're updated, please. And while we are still
Sunsworn
on the books, Red, you want to give us a little fill in here?
Absolutely. Yeah, I was just tabbing out to drop links in the chat, but I'll hold off on that for a sec.
I'll do it.
Yeah, I'll steal Simon's pitch. This is the most badass space fantasy in fiction.
And Red, you are taking CG multimedia now.
Yeah, that's the idea, man. Like Drew T was saying, I'm highly involved with the fandom menace as well, and that's part of the goal with this is to try to bridge the gap. Bring the groups together, because I think we're all looking to do something similar. So
we're all on the same team.
Absolutely. So this is it's heavily inspired by Star Wars, and it's actually this began as a world in role playing that I developed like 15 years ago. So that was fun. It's not going to really feature those characters, obviously, because those are kind of somebody else's property. But I took that world and created characters of my own, threw them in here. And it's just going to be what you're going to witness here is the decline of a near utopian society. Because it can't last forever, can it? Obviously, resources have to come from somewhere, and there's always bigger fish. So you're going to be following characters such as Aster Sunsworn, who is a renowned Astral Templar, Trip Vengeance, who is a crystal wielding mystic. You'll also be following the development and emotional journey of villains as well, like Sarath, who's a Sleesk, also is a crystal mystic. And it's a siege of a galaxy is what you're going to see here, and the aftermath of that will follow in The rest of the books. I have this mapped out for 6 books so far. Not down to the letter, down to the T, but yeah, the ideas are there on paper.
Well, I'm gonna have to buy 6 books.
You're gonna have to buy 6 books, Simon.
Yeah.
And people often ask me if there's going to be comics, because that's one of the questions I get. It's not a comic, not yet, but my plan is between the novel campaigns, provided they're successful, is to launch some comic campaigns as well. So
Well,
Heck
you do
yeah.
get a sweet visual companion with the book.
Yeah, you do.
yeah, absolutely. That's a big part of it.
Sounds like great toilet reading.
Yeah, for sure, man, for sure. I will not fault anyone for keeping this next to their toilet as long as they're reading it.
Right. Yep. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Well, you know, I just want to point out, you know, as the guy that sort of keeps an eye on everything here, you know, with what I do with bounding, you know, I can't say enough good things about you guys as people, you know.
Oh,
You know, you guys are great, and also the fact that you know, you're brilliant creatively, you know, Drew and Simon and Brian and Red Gaze, man, you guys are awesome, and I hope that folks, if you're watching out there, listen, make sure that you check all these different forms of media, because these people are giving you storytelling back. You've had it taken from you now for years, and they're giving it back to you now. And as a consumer, you should be ecstatic about that.
And yeah, I'd like to say to you, Drew, and all the rest of our backers and supporters, you know, we love you guys. Because without
Yeah,
you guys, this wouldn't be worth it. And honestly, it drives us to work like motherfuckers.
Yeah, it does.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
We feel a responsibility to, unlike the creators of a lot of mainstream media these days, we feel a real responsibility to give you the best work that we can produce, to give you a quality product, and we love our fans. You know, you're not going to see us on Twitter going, right? Thanks for buying my book.
Yeah,
I-
you don't
my-
like
my
it, don't
goal-
buy it. No, buy it.
Yeah.
My goal is to outdo myself every time.
Yeah.
I
Yes.
want people to be like, fuck, I did not expect that. Every time I want like you took it to another level. I didn't know you could take it to another level, but you took it to another level.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's
you could
the
ask,
ambition,
you could ask Red here if it was, you know, I've read Drew Blood Hunt twice.
Yeah.
Just to make-
Well, that's an indication. You know, Drew T. You know, you were too kind. But one thing I can say about myself and my peeps here and Comicsgate in general, the projects that we are doing, the books that you are getting from us, they're passion projects.
Yes.
They're not, you know, something that we just did because we were hired to do it or because we're using it as a stepping
They're
stone
not
to like
fast
something
food
else.
comics.
No, these are passion projects. We are telling these stories because we're making the story. We're telling the stories that we want to read.
Yeah, for sure.
We have comics on the quality of they were in the early 90s,
Exactly.
which you know, is when comics were, I think, at their like prime as far as quality of production as well as quality of story. They had great stories back in the 40s, 50s, 60s, all that kind of stuff, but the 90s it transitioned to where comics were not for children anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I would say it was like the end of the 80s and the 90s.
Yeah.
Like, don't forget
Right.
the end of the 80s was like those moments that we had that Frank Miller, Jim Lee, the UK invasion, Simon Bisley joining in.
Yeah, they
They went to get Metal Hurlant and publish Heavy Metal magazine.
Absolutely.
Yes, Heavy
Metal
Magazine was
Was the shit.
very seminal magazine, man. It was very important. And,
Oh my God.
And
And when he says seminal, he doesn't mean like he's not talking about what you got on the magazine.
Dude, it was
for
one
your-
of the first magazine that you had every type of comics. Like
Yeah.
you said, you had American type, you had British, you had like French, and you even have some manga people that came in here.
Yep. And it introduced me at a very young age to the magnificence of French comics. You know,
Mhm.
And that's the thing, man. There are entire worlds out there.
You know, it's like it's like in a way, like people are like, oh well, but this better. You can't compare them. It's so different between American comics and manga. There's a big difference, right?
Yes.
But it's the same goddamn thing with European. You cannot compare them.
Yes.
It was also important because remember, before the internet was around, I mean, that was a way for artists around the world to kind of, get their stuff out there and share it with each other too.
And that's why CG Jumpstart is gonna fucking rule.
Hell yeah.
Because I don't know if you know, Drew, but you know what CG Jumpstart is?
Yeah, I know.
Oh, why don't you
It's-
elaborate a little?
It's a mix of Wizard comics, but a whole lot of heavy metal in it.
Nice.
It's like there's a whole bunch of artists. There's like a lot of comics in there. Like it's a 120-page book, if I'm not mistaken, about over 80 to 90 page of story, and a little bit of Wizard in it.
You see, I love to see like anthology books too.
Mhm.
Where everybody takes like a chapter, makes like a little short story, and
There's one coming.
something.
Well, that's what's happening with the Doc Alpha, Doc Salem, Six Gun Gorilla crossover. Is that Lit Devil and Preston Acevedo and myself were each going to write chapters, and it's good.
So-
It's
Yeah, so let me just because we're getting time. You guys
Oh,
have to go over to Raging
yep.
Gold Eagle in a few
Captain
minutes.
Love, Captain
Yeah.
Love, Captain Love, 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 love.
I just want to say thank you to everybody who's been showing support for Captain Love: Rise of the Pirate King. I have had a tremendous movement here, and I am so grateful. This book is something it's something I'm very attached to. It is the essence of a lot of my creativity, and the Captain Love character is the character that if I could reinvent myself as anything ever, it would be Captain Love, and that's you know what I mean. So in a way, that's probably why Captain Love has the braid and all that kind of stuff. It is the character. If I wanted to like read the perfect comic book for my tastes, it would be Captain Love.
Speaking of passion projects,
Exactly.
James, if you love James Bond, if you like Buck Rogers, if you like Flash Gordon, if you like Han Solo, if you like these kinds of male dominating, they're not misogynists, but they're just badass motherfuckers.
high tea.
And Captain Love is a combination. Is influenced by all those. He's got some Captain Kirk in him. You know what I mean? He is a good read. And this next series is going to kick ass. I don't have time to go through all the tiers because we just don't have the time. But I want to say thank you very much for coming to the show. I'm going to drop a link here in the chat for the Raging Golden Eagles channel. We're going to have both Brian and Sim over on Raging Golden Eagle.
And
pitching
Red
their
Gaze.
book. Oh, Red, you're going over there too?
Yeah, brother.
Awesome.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So there we go. So basically,
And
the show,
Nikki the Pipe. I just saw Nikki the Pipe too. There you
Oh
go.
hell yeah! Yes.
It's all of us there. Come on, guys.
So the show is moving basically over to Raging Golden Eagles channel.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
On that note, I'm gonna play this little video. Hopefully, I have the sound turned on.
I'm gonna boogie right now.
Me too, because I need to do a few things before the show. But
Yeah,
hey,
but
later,
much,
buddy.
much love to you all, Drew T. Pleasure meeting you, brother. Keep the home fires burning.
Yeah, man,
All
definitely.
right. Yeah, absolutely. Chat, make sure you can read me on boundingintocomics.com. My name is Drew Taylor. And you can also, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Every Thursday I do, for Battlestar Galactica fans, come by. We do a retro review of the 2004 Battlestar Galactica series. So make sure that you stop by my channel for that. YouTube.com, Supreme Heretic.
Later,
Hail,
brothers.
Cool, man. Yeah, well, thanks, Drew.
Hey,
Everybody have a great day, and we'll see you next time.
CG for life.
Hi, my name is Drew Ish, and I'm the author of the Captain Love series. Well, I'll tell you all about the second book, Rise of the Pirate King. Yeah, that's the thing. And in this book, you're gonna get everything that you would expect from Captain Love. Yeah, you bet. And I'm blessed enough to be able to use the same creative team. You know what I mean? If you feel like the universe is caving in, you need love to the rescue. And it seems like nothing will be right again. You need love to the rescue. Captain Love to the rescue. All right now. Now, Captain Love is a space trucker and a former war hero. There is even a legend that he may be immortal. He is accompanied by Spade, who's a living AI. Guess I said immortal. As in he cannot die, and if it feels like the universe is caving in, you need love to the rescue. And it seems like nothing will be right again. You need love to the rescue. Yeah, love to the rescue. Captain Love to the rescue. All right now. In this book, you'll get space pirates, sexy girls and the science monks. There'll be bar fights, space battles, and a lot of awesome junk. There's nudity and violence and swearing within, so this book is mature. That means it's not made for children. And if it feels like the universe is caving in, there'll be love to the rescue. Yeah, and it seems like nothing will be right again. You need love to the rescue. Captain Love to the rescue. Captain Love to the rescue. Captain Love to the rescue. Thank you so much for your time. Please back Captain Love. The book is going to be awesome. Rise of the Pirate King is just the second in an adventure heading forward for many books. Thank you for your time. Sweet.